Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to my shadow banned channel. I almost got the channel completely taken down from YouTube today. I was going to drop a Pride Month video, and then somebody talked me out of it. Said no point in getting banned altogether just now. And makes sense. I do have a few more videos to drop before I get myself banned entirely. One of them is going to be later today or tomorrow, depending on how fast I move. And it's a word study on the one of the most important words in our Bibles, the word that gets translated believe or belief. And it is the source of all the mischief, the source of all the debates we're having here about what the gospel is. And it's in Greek, it's transliterated pisteuó. In Strong's, it is G4100. And this word gets translated as believe or belief. And in most cases, it should be translated was faithful, gave allegiance. And I'm going to be doing a word study to show you what I'm talking about and why I'm right about that. But I just wanted to whet your appetite here by talking a little about it as a preview. And to preview, let me just ask you this. What exactly did Abraham believe that God credited to him as righteousness? Well, we read in Romans 4:3 that Abraham believed the Lord, and God accounted that to him as righteousness. So my question to you, free grace people, you easy believism people, what exactly did Abraham believe? He certainly didn't believe that part about him having offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky. We read that he was told that in Genesis chapter 12 for the first time. Abraham would, God tells him, you're going to have offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky, which was... It must have been hard for Abraham, who was 80 at the time, to believe that. And he was childless, and his wife was older than him. But apparently, he was credited to righteousness for his belief. I don't know exactly what he... and the Genesis text itself shows that he didn't believe that God would fulfill his promise. We see in chapter 12, he tries to pass his wife off as his sister because he's afraid the Egyptians will kill him and take his wife. And of course, if he's killed, he's not going to have any children. And then in chapter 16, his wife tells him, look, I'm too old. You're going to have your own offspring by our maid Hagar here, the Egyptian slave. And so Abraham does exactly that, and they end up with Ishmael, the father of the Arab tribes. So Abraham clearly did not believe God's promise about his offspring. Again, otherwise he's not trying to pass off his wife as his sister to save his own life, and he's not trying to have his own children by an Egyptian slave. So what exactly did Abraham believe? Can anybody tell me? But that verb that we translate believe, it could just as with equal lexical justification been translated was faithful. And that in fact is the way it should be translated. In the original Hebrew, the verb is translated trustworthy and faithful numerous times. Somehow in Greek, the Protestant rebels who translated it into believed instead of was faithful, they thought that would somehow be a better translation of the original Hebrew. Actually, they played fast and loose with that. And they played fast and loose with that word pisteuó, belief, all over the New Testament. And that is why we are having so many disputes, so many problems 500 years later, because we don't understand what that word means. And yet, here we read in Romans 4:3 that Abraham believed God, and it was accounted to him as righteousness. That verse could have been translated with equal lexical justification. Abraham was faithful to God, and God accounted that to him as righteousness. It was a translator's choice. And the Protestants who made that choice were rebels from the Catholic Church, who did not want to emphasize allegiance or fidelity, did they? But you see that verse translated all over the place, as believe. We see that in James 2:23. We see it in Galatians 3:6. They translate it as believe and not was faithful. But let's look what the Lord himself, what he says, why Abraham was faithful. He tells Isaac, the son of Abraham, exactly why he is faithful. So I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 26, verses 4 and 5. And this tells us exactly why Abraham was accredited with righteousness by God. Read it here. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Abraham didn't believe everything he was told, but he did everything he was told. So, Romans 4:3 should have been translated, and Abraham was faithful to God, and God accredited to him as righteousness. But because they played fast and loose with that verb, pisteuó, G4100, they played fast and loose with it all over the New Testament. That is why we are having the debates we're having today. All right, I hope that whet your appetite for the longer study that I hope to drop soon. Have a good day, everyone.